Hi, it's so good to be here. Sorry, Meg can't come.
Yeah, I know the internet working from home. This is what happens. So before we jump in, tell me just, it's so good to see you again. Thank you so much for coming back. I always like to say, I just want to say thank you for your service as a military spouse. That is also service. And it's important to recognize you. So thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm always excited to come hang out with the Power to Fly team and give back in any way that I can. And I always hate that my bio is like 10 million pages long. I'm always like, let's just skip that.
I only did half of it.
I know. I was like, just stop, just cut there.
I was like, yeah, I
Yeah,
have a feeling Flossie
she's
just
done
she's
some
ready to
things.
jump
It's
in.
cool. But I mean, for this today's summit, my background, I've built and scaled businesses across e-commerce, CPG, service-based businesses, brick and mortar, e-commerce only. So I'm excited to share some of the lessons learned behind sales, because without sales, you can't really have a business. So it's super important to have a sales strategy, because at the end of the day, your goal should be to make money.
Yep, that's funny how that works, huh?
Yeah, it's weird. So at the end of the day, I'm like, if you're a coffee company, everything you should do should be to sell the coffee, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So can you tell me about, like, this seems like an obvious question, but let's just kick off with the obvious ones. Like, what is a sales strategy? Obviously I can be like, okay, I know what goals are, but what is
Yeah.
a strategy? What's the difference between goals and strategy?
Well, goals can be an endpoint, but a strategy is basically how you get there. So at the end of the day, you may want to sell the coffee or acquire the customers, but how do you plan to actually do that? So I'm an ops person and a strategist by default. So from 1 to 1 million, how do you actually get there? And what are the systems and procedures that you put in place to get those sales, right? So you don't just wake up and sell a product. At the end of the day, there's a million ways you can do that, but really honing in as a business on all of your steps, all of your team members involved, all of the processes and systems is really, really crucial to actually complete your goals and make your goals, 10 times bigger than you ever thought. Maybe acquiring 1 or 2 customers is easy, but what about acquiring 1 or 2 million customers? That's going to take a lot of processes and systems.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, how do we develop this? How do we make a sales strategy? It seems, this earlier today we've been talking about, we got to have these big goals, and it takes a lot of small steps to get to the larger strategy. But I can imagine for some folks it might seem quite overwhelming before we know where to begin.
Yeah, so there's a few things that you can implement to develop your sales strategy. So first is to understand your team and your bandwidth. Is there one person doing sales? Is that you? Are you a solopreneur? Do you have a whole department doing sales? And then understanding each person's role within your sales strategy, right? So first of all, you need to provide clarity on who is doing what, because it's important to know, is there one person specifically doing e-commerce or marketing or sales calls, or is there a pipeline of where those pieces lay? And once you lay out that strategy, it's super important to understand, like I said before, who's going to do what in each step of that process. So if you have 5 people within your sales team, maybe they also need to interact with your finance team or your marketing team or your web team or your executive team. So you need to develop a sales strategy to get from point A to point B, but you need to develop every step within there. You also need to provide awareness on the business. Where is it at currently? So I'm a data nerd by default. So what's your historical data? Are you traditionally selling, 10 products a day or closing 1 customer a quarter? You have to look at where you're at versus where you want to go, because unfortunately, if you're only selling 10 products a day, you're not going to leap to 10 million products the next day. So it's super important to understand realistic goals when you're setting up your sales strategy. So who's doing what, where are you currently, and then where do you want to go? And then eventually it all revolves around the customer, like I said. So at the end of the day, you will need to activate everything from customer service to, your e-commerce, your website, deliverables. Can you actually deliver that many products to your customers? So I work with a lot of people who want press and media, and they're like, I want to be on the Today Show. And I was like, I always start with, can you handle being on the Today Show? Because if you
Mhm.
go from selling 10 products a day to suddenly 10,000 customers on your website, can you actually deliver what you're trying to sell? So set realistic goals based on production, what you can do, because you can outgrow your business and sales demand and make people very unhappy. In my first business, which you mentioned was a meal prepping business, I couldn't keep up with the growth, which is a great problem to have as a business. But unfortunately, it feels awful as the business owner trying to keep up and working 18, 20 hours a day. It would have been a little bit better for me to like incrementally grow instead of like waking up to 200% growth every week going, how are we going to handle this? I need more team, more equipment, more this, more customer service people. So there's a lot as to why behind it, but you need to make sure you have the team on board, the systems on board, and make sure that you understand where you're at and where you're going.
That's so important. And like you said, it's a good problem to have. But also, what I love about what you were talking about, realistic goals, is it's not only for you, but it's also for your customers, because you don't
Exactly.
want to create these goals that you can't fulfill.
Exactly. And you can. I mean, how can you grow? If it's a service-based business, you only have so many people that can physically do the work in a day, right? If it's a product-based business, there's only so much product you have on hand. And do you handle it in-house? If you're packing orders in your house, that's totally different than a warehouse or a facility that is drop shipping and your manufacturing's outsourced. Or what if you get an order for 100,000 units? What is it going to cost you to your manufacturer to advance and fulfill those 100,000 units? There's a lot of logistics involved in sales strategy to make sure that you set yourself up for success. Because at the end of the day, you don't want customers ordering or purchasing your services and then you can't give it to them, because that is the worst kind of customer service that you can get, is somebody who wants your business, your product, or your services, and you can't deliver it to them, because that's going to look awful on you. Instead, you want to make your customers happy.
Absolutely. And it's, and there's new restraints, these days with
Mm.
supply chain demand crisis, if you will. I've ordered things and it's like, it's a back order. We'll let you know someday, and you're just
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, well, it's nothing I particularly need. It's something, it can wait. But I'm sure that's not the case with all products. There's some things, medical devices, all this stuff. It's so important that it's like, no, we need it yesterday, and like, how do we navigate in these times when there is a demand and the need is so high for some things that do take longer? And you have, like you said, there's only so many hours a day, you have only so many employees, there's only so many hands making products or typing code or whatever it is. So what are some examples of effective sales strategies so that in a perfect world, all of this does go smoothly and you're not treading water or getting underwater even?
Yeah, so I think you should always start with knowing your numbers, knowing your bandwidth, and setting up systems and procedures. So first, before you even can set your sales strategy in its entirety, you need to understand step 1, 2, 3 to 100, right? So what are you using to manage your sales strategy? And I love project management software. There's plenty of them out there. You can manage your team, you can manage your steps. Do you have a sales pipeline, something like a HubSpot, or even a spreadsheet of where you're tracking what's going on to make sure nothing falls through the cracks? So that's step 1. Step 2 is customer service for your sales strategies. No matter what your sales strategy is, whether it's selling 10 products or 10 customers or 10 million. And just like you said, if issues come up like supply chain issues or delays or products, communicate with your customers. So have really strong customer service strategies in place for your sales strategy, right? And there's multiple ways you can sell to your customers. You can do e-commerce and email campaigns, social media marketing campaigns, partnership campaigns. You have to know your customer at the end of the day. Sales is all about understanding your customer personas, how they buy, where they buy, what they're buying, and how to target and talk to those customers. So whether it's through social media, email, partnership, direct contact, phone calls, how you talk to your customers is incredibly important. So setting up those sales strategies with your customers in mind, and then listening to your customers. One of my favorite sales analogies is duct tape, right? So duct tape was meant for a very specific purpose. And the inventor of duct tape, I doubt ever thought that it would be used for all the things that it's used for today, but they listened to their customers. And now you see these incredible marketing campaigns that are like, make your own duct tape purse, make your own duct tape wallet, hold the bumper on your car with duct tape, right? Because they listened to how their customers were buying and utilizing their products. So sometimes what you think your customers want or how you think they're going to buy your product or service, they might tell you something differently in whole. And then lastly, I'll just say, pay attention to your existing customers because you want to nurture those customers. Don't just get a customer and be like, on to the next. Acquiring a new customer is a lot harder than nurturing the customers you have, upselling them, selling them new products or services, keeping them loyal to your company and brand and product. So don't disregard your current customer base just to keep going after new customers. Make sure you're also nurturing your existing customers.
It's so important. We got a comment from the chat here. Mary A said, yes, manage expectations, be realistic, don't overpromise, don't disappoint your customers.
Yeah, under promise and over deliver always. Like as entrepreneurs, we have these grandiose expectations of the things we can do, or we're going to give them this and we're going to do that, but stuff goes wrong. That's entrepreneurship. Like in a nutshell, business, everything's going to go wrong, small, big, every day. So always plan for your worst case scenario and communicate, no matter what happens. And at the end of the day, if you have to give a refund or send an extra product or, send something personal like a thank you card, over deliver to those customers always to make sure that they're happy and your reputation is kept intact.
It's so important because the reputation is those personal relationships, and that's what sales is all based on, right?
Exactly. Your customers and consumers are going to be your number one advocates at the end of the day. And think about almost any loved brand in the world. They don't have to market a lot because their customers do it for them. So you have to make sure your customers love you, but don't be that company that gets screenshotted and thrown up on a TikTok or something on the internet with terrible customer service or, hey, I've been emailing this company for 6 months about my product and I've heard nothing. Always customer service first.
Yep. And then they appreciate it, they feel valued, and it's this, symbiotic relationship for the sales. You mentioned earlier, when I was talking about the meal prep program, you said your first business. I would love to hear about, so I'd love to hear about other businesses that we didn't touch on yet that you are, doing right now.
Yeah, I have a bunch of businesses that I'm part owner, minority owner, I have equity in. One company that's doing really well right now is an edible, colorable crayon called Crayons Ready to Eat. So anybody in the military crowd, of MREs, these are CREs. So they come in a cute little pouch that looks like an MRE. Marines are called crayon eaters, and they actually eat crayons at like ceremonies and graduations. So these are chocolate colorable edible crayons. And we had a lot of those issues that you talked about, supply chain issues, equipment things. There was almost a 1.5-year wait for pre-orders to get out because COVID hit and all these things shut down. So that's outsourced to manufacturing now, and it's automated and drop shipping and it's e-commerce. And we're selling several thousand units a day, which is incredible. I also have a consulting and marketing business that does marketing and PR. I've done educational technology. I have a few educational technology programs and platforms that I've launched. So I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and I love to build things that people love. And when I see a problem, I just go build it. Or sometimes it's something fun, like a colorful edible crayon.
Oh my God, that's so fun. I have a niece and a nephew, and I'm like, Flossie, I need a pack of these. Send them to me. Where do I
we
get them?
actually
Are they still on back order?
No, they're shipping within 3 days. You got 2 more days to get them in time for Christmas. So crayonsreadytoeat.com, go grab yours today. And it was a focus for the military to start, but moving into 2023, listening to our customers, we're doing a brand neutral pack for teachers and parents and moms and dads who just want to buy these for their nieces and nephews that maybe aren't as military affiliated, but you're still going to get the same great product inside. So again, it wasn't our initial sales strategy. We're like, this is a military product. No, people just love to color with their crayons and then take a bite out of it.
Duct tape.
Yep, duct tape. Listen to your customers and they will tell you what you want or what they want. And you have to pivot constantly and just stay up to date. So that product is doing really well. And it's literally just getting started and it has some big retail contracts coming up soon too. So go get your crayons in time for Christmas. you can stir your hot cocoa with them. We saw some people doing that online. It's great what people they built their gingerbread houses. We had one customer build a gingerbread houses with their crayons, their chocolate crayons as like the frame. Listen to your customers. They will tell you at the end of the day what they're using your products for, and pivot, swerve, and keep selling.
Oh my gosh, Flossie, I love that. It's so fun. It's such a great example of pivoting and swerving, keep going. And like, I wasn't familiar with the military, you said in the Navy that it eats the crayons? Is that
Marines are called crayon eaters. Unfortunately, it's just a thing.
It's a thing, and I wasn't familiar with this. I learned something new today. Yeah. But yeah, it's just so, because immediately for me, with my frame of reference, I was like, oh, my niece would love that. Because she wants to eat everything anyway, and she likes to make
it might as well actually be edible.
Yeah, please, eat this one. Maybe it's a little high in sugar for the day, but it's better than that dirt you were eating just a moment ago.
Yeah. See, so I mean, educating your consumers too is a huge part of your sales strategy. So nobody knows that edible colorable crayons is a thing, but now it's a thing. So go get yours.
Go get yours. So how should leaders go about building this sales strategy? So we talked about if you're starting out and you're maybe a solopreneur, but if leaders, let's say, of a company, you have a team already, and you've already, maybe you have a new product, like for example, the edible crayons, So if you have a new product, or you have a new product that you're introducing into your company, now moving into 2023 and this new interface, it's a different market now. What are tips in this new market that are new for what's going on for making a new sales strategy? And what are some of the old tried and true things maybe that are still hold true?
Yeah, so tried and true, set specific goals, whether that's weekly goals, monthly goals, quarterly goals, individual goals within your team. Set your goals. And we did talk about realistic goals, but you can't adjust if you don't have goals set. If you plan to sell, 10 or 100 or 1,000,000, set those goals out. And then when you get to that goal point after each month or each quarter, analyze what went right and what went wrong. And did you actually follow the plan, and did it not work? Because that's how you analyze. My first company ran on a week-to-week basis. So orders opened on Monday, orders went out on Sunday every week for meal prep and delivery. So every Monday we looked at what went right and what went wrong and how do we improve. So set those goals and adjust accordingly. That's tried and true in every sales strategy, as well as analyzing your data. Where are your customers coming from? You have to understand your website traffic, your social media traffic. Where are they buying? Why are they buying? Who is buying? Because when you start to understand who your customers are through your customer personas, you can start to target and niche down, and you can do sales campaigns specifically for moms with kids who like to color with crayons, or teachers who want to buy these for their classes, or Marines at the Marine Corps balls. Those sales strategies and marketing strategies look totally different. Selling to Marines is grunty and gritty and has a whole different voice than if I'm selling a product to a mom with toddlers. So you have to understand your customers by analyzing who's actually purchasing your product and who could be purchasing your product. Because again, you might need to educate them on why they need your product. And then what is your value proposition? That's always my biggest sales strategy, is what makes you bigger, better, faster, stronger. stronger than your competition out there? Why should people buy your product or service over the billions of other products on the market? You really have to understand why you're the best, or why you're the cheapest, or why they should be coming to you. So understanding that and clearly articulating that without jargon or, hoopla to your customers and your sales strategy is incredibly important. So make sure your storytelling is like super crisp of, we are the best because we do X, Y, and Z. This is why us, because a customer will buy why you all day if you convince them of why you're the best.
It's so, yeah, that's so valuable. And it's so interesting to, I live in New York City, so we still do like utilize billboards and ads in the subways and things like that. And because we're so saturated with ads, on our phones and all these things, sometimes I'm seeing things and I'm like, I think this is trying to be funny, but I literally have no idea what this is or what they do.
Yeah, you're like, because you get super crafty sometimes. And sometimes when I work with entrepreneurs or founders, sometimes I have to like draw them all the way back and say, you sell coffee. So you have to let them know you sell coffee. So if you see this fancy billboard and in 2 seconds you can't understand that you sell coffee and you need to buy the coffee, then it's lost. All of that time was wasted. Or if you're using jargon that's industry specific and you're trying to sell not to that industry, then people aren't going to understand what you're talking about. So you have to be really clear, and you only have a snapshot second to capture people's attention to get them to buy. I just bought my husband some t-shirts from True Classic. I don't know if you've heard them, but they sold to me. I was scrolling on Instagram, saw an ad, it grabbed my attention. I clicked, I bought, I sent a message to the CEO and I was like, great marketing campaign, stopped my scroll, bought it. I've spent $400. Great job to your marketing team. Like, what is going to stop your scroll on your Instagram feed or your Facebook feed, or which email is grabbing your attention in your inbox? Look at what you're paying attention to as well. So it's got to be catchy, it's got to be quick, but it's got to be clear and concise.
Catchy, quick, clear, and concise. Flossie Hall, that is you in 4 words. Hello. Come on.
Love it.
So with these 5 minutes left, can you speak to, what is the purpose of sales initiatives? How do leaders know when they should implement them? And what are some of the best ways to maybe come up with these, even for step 1, right?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, sales initiatives are for revenue, I hope. It's to sell more products or close more customers. And like I said, that should be based on your capacity, your bandwidth, and your goals that your leadership team has set out or that you've set out for yourself. But you also have to put the time and commitment into your sales process. So I met with a founder a few weeks ago and who had been working on revenue all year. And I said, how much time have you actually put into this? Because a lot hadn't come out of it. Well, I get busy. And we talked about blocking off sales time every week, Friday from like 9 a.m. to noon. That's your money making hours. I call it Funding Friday. Like, you're going to go make money for 4 straight hours, no matter what that looks like, whether it's ads or marketing or emails or closing deals. But you need to put time into your sales strategy in order to actually achieve success in it. And the more time and effort that you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. And if you keep pushing it to the bottom of your list, it's going to show in your revenue and in your bottom line. So make sure that you have that continual process moving forward. But at the end of the day, it should be to grow your company in specific strategic ways. Launching new products, launching new services, and maybe you launch a product that you think is going to be amazing and it flops. Well, then you get rid of that and you readjust. Maybe you double down on your bestseller instead. Again, at the end of the day, it's money, revenue, increasing your team, hitting your goals, expansion, all of those great things that I hope you're all working on in your business anyway.
Yeah, I love Funding Friday.
It was the only way that I could specifically 4 hours every Friday. It's money, whatever those money goals are. Set that money time aside to make money and block it off your calendar and work on it every single week.
It's so important. We can have Sunday Fun Day and Fun Day Friday. So
perfect, because you got to make money, right? Like, at the end of the day, all businesses don't survive unless you make money.
Yeah, and you're not going to have a Sunday fun day if you don't.
No, not
So,
unless you have a magic check fairy hanging out somewhere that's just writing you hidden checks. I've yet to find one of those. All of my businesses have been built revenue first, meaning they've all been built on sales and marketing strategies.
yeah, awesome, awesome. So we actually got a question from the audience that we can maybe touch on before we end here. It's Elizabeth asks, is there any difference in your strategies for non-e-commerce based businesses?
Yeah, each strategy is going to be very industry specific. If you are a brick and mortar versus e-commerce, if you're a tech company versus product-based companies, each one of those has a very specific path of how you sell, where you sell, and how you get to. But at the end of the day, it's all about who you're trying to reach. So it doesn't matter what product, service, or medium that you're working with. You have to understand your customers. Where are your customers? How are they buying? It might be businesses, it might be B2B, B2C, D2C. Like there's all these great ways that you can sell to people. Where are they? Are they on social media? Are they on one platform? Are they checking email? Are they on apps? Are they at events? Are they physically seeing your product by walking by your store? Are they reading the local newspaper? You have to find out where your customers are and how they're buying to understand it before you even start a sales strategy, no matter what your product or service is.
Awesome. 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 Great answer. Thank you for that question. Elizabeth, I believe it was. Thank you so much for that. And yes, Elizabeth. And Flossie Hall, I am so thrilled I got to chat with you. I always love listening to you. I'm a big fan of yours. Now I
Oh,
need to go get edible crayons.
everybody, go get some edible crayons.
Yes. And on that note, so how can folks stay connected with you? Any other fun, exciting edible things or non-edible things coming up for you?
Well, I have some fun things happening in 2023. So you'll have to follow me on LinkedIn because that's my jam. That's where you can sell to me, is either LinkedIn or when I'm scrolling on Instagram at night. But connect with me on LinkedIn. You can shoot me a message or a connection request, and I'm happy to help or support or answer any mentorship questions that I can.
Awesome. Flossie, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope you have a fun holiday
Yeah,
coming up.
same. Yeah,
Thank you
thank you
so
so
much.
much for having me. Bye, everybody.
Oh, yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.